Morning, guys. I hope you're well. This is AC1.2, assess the usefulness of investigative techniques in criminal investigations, session 3. I wonder what today could be about. So, just to remind you, this is the biggest AC, okay, in your controlled assessment. So we need lots of information here. Okay, clear and detailed assessment is made of a wide range of investigative techniques. So how useful are they? Good, bad things, cases to show either way. So um, today and the next session we will be looking at offender profiling and how we profile serial killers and other scary, horrible criminals. Okay, this potentially might be my favourite thing ever in the world to teach, and I just wish I was in the classroom with you. But we'll make the best of it as we can, and hopefully it will work. Okay. So the idea of offender profiling is that if you look at the offences, okay, you should be able to deduce the characteristics of the offender. Okay, because basically the idea is how you behave relates to your personality and who you are. Okay, so if I was to say to you right now, okay, who has a messy bedroom? Oh, hands. And I'm probably right. You're probably the more unorganised people who are normally late, a bit messy, kind of just do things on a whim, don't think about things, don't plan things. Okay, that's the idea of offender profiling. Okay. Um, so we have both social and psychological assessment. So what are they like socially? Married, loners, okay, psychological evaluation of themselves and if they do anything at the crime scene, and also to provide interviewing strategies. So it could be, for example, that some people you want to big up and say, oh, you're the best thing in the world, tell me why you're great, tell me how you got away with it, you're so clever, you're amazing, you're brilliant. And others you want to be really low key with. Okay, so knowing who the person is will help with police interviewing strategies, and we'll come on to some simple interviewing strategies later on in this AC after half term. So there are two main types of profiling. We've got the American, which is what we call the top down. So you've got a theory and you apply it to people. And it's called the typological. And then the UK one, the bottom up. So you kind of see what you see. You kind of look at the evidence and then come up with a theory based on the evidence. Okay, and we'll look at what's called geographical profiling. So the American top-down profiling, as you can see here, organised, and that's what we're kind of looking at here. So this whole idea came from the FBI in the late 70s. Okay, the series on Netflix called Mindhunter is the two people who came up with offender profiling, and there's a series about how they came up with the different theories about different types of criminals. They based this on 36 interviews with just horrible minging people who did just horrible things. Okay, and they came up with two types of theorists. So where we see this stuff, you'll see this in Criminal Minds. I can't implore you enough, if you like this kind of stuff, just start watching the old Criminal Minds. They are on Amazon. I can't find them online, but you guys are more creative than me in finding things. That they will tell you everything. They're so good. So the idea is that you can combine what you find at the crime scene to fit one of these profiles. So the idea about being a type of person, okay, so the evidence can tell you about the type of offender. It can then let you predict things about their behaviour. So that's the idea. But this theory, in its primitive stage, is only good on like horrible things. Okay, I can't read out any of those; they're too horrible. Okay, but that's where it was kind of done. We've since adapted and can apply it to quite a lot of things, but this is where it has its most use in like serious organised crimes, horrible minging stuff. So kind of not rhetorical questions, but what would you expect to see at an organised crime scene, a murder? Are you going to expect to see loads of evidence everywhere? Are you going to see? Would you think it's going to be all messy and horrible and minging? Okay. And likewise, disorganised. Is it going to be just chaos everywhere? Like, I'm just doing it out of love and hatred, not thought out. So these are the ideas that we're going to explore. So at an organised crime scene, this is what one would look like for a murder. Okay. So they've planned the crime, so they've probably taken a weapon to it because they don't want to just pick it up and leave it. There's self-control. They've covered their tracks. They've leave no clues. They probably don't know the person, or if they do, they've targeted the person. And the idea is that you try to control them. And so what this says about the person is they're probably intelligent, maybe an underachiever like Ted Bundy was. They've probably got a skilled occupation. They are socially competent, so it'd be good to be a psychopath to be one of these. You can have relationships. You're probably a bit down at the time of committing, and there is a chance that you might even follow the story. So any big crime scene in America and most countries around the world, they will actually take photos of people who are surrounding the crime scene. Obviously nowadays with social media, it's a lot easier to do this remotely, so it's less of a use. And if we flip this to a disorganised offender, unplanned, leave loads of clues, you're probably going to know the person's probably going to be out of like rage that you've done it. Okay, you're probably going to do it to places where you're familiar and know. Okay, so you're probably going to be a bit of a weirdo. Just an unskilled job that most people could do. You might have a history of horrible stuff in your past. You're going to be confused at the time of the murder. Okay, and you probably do things close by. So they came up with these two types of offenders based on these 36 interviews. Okay, so hopefully you're already thinking about how good that is. So what I'd like to do is, you've done quite a bit of stuff on serial killers. Okay, pick one of your faves and just write a little blurb for your notes to start with about why you think this criminal is a type of offender. In theory, you can argue both. Obviously, that would make the profile a lot harder and less useful to catch the person, but for this purpose, it doesn't matter. Pause the video and then do that, and then crack on. Okay, right. Technology. This is where I need technology to work. So fingers crossed. I have acquired a copy of Criminal Minds Season 1, Episode 1, Extreme Aggressor. Okay, I'm going to try and upload this to Teams. I think it works. I've done it onto a staff page and it worked. So I want you to watch this. You might need to watch it twice and then answer the questions that are either on the next slides or on a handout that I'll send as well. Okay, see if you can answer the questions. Okay, it's just getting you to think like a profiler. Okay, that's the idea of this. The first section, second section. Now the times in the clip, because you only need to watch the first 25 minutes, 24 minutes. So see what you can do there. So again, pause this and do that. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, and this is very subjective, so you might all have different opinions, is I'm going to show you two drawn out crime scenes, and I want you to try and tell me if it's an organised or disorganised crime scene. Okay, and try and describe what happened at the crime scene. There's no right answer here. Okay, I'm going to give you some pointers though. So the first one, so just to kind of show you, these things are doors. That's clearly a chair, a dinner table, like a hallway into a bedroom, maybe a bathroom there. Okay, blood splatter. What's happened here? Take your time, pause it and have a look. The second one is this, same room. Okay, where's the blood? What's happened here? Okay, so again, pause this and have a think. I'm on Teams if you want to ask me anything. So, how good is this FBI profile? Right, this is the first ever attempt to scientifically approach this. It's been copied and adapted by millions, but loads of law enforcement agencies around the world. The one in Netherlands is the most prominent, but it's been brilliant. And the idea that you can try and categorise people, okay, which can actually challenge stereotypes. Okay, so for example, Clark and Morley interviewed 41 convicted rapists who'd committed over 800 offences, and instead of them being the stereotype of the weirdo in the village loner, they were not. They were like an average person. They have families, often intelligent, in good jobs. So we can look at different types of people, and so it's good to then help narrow down the pool. Because what we're trying to do, if you've got a massive crime scene, you go, right, okay, we're going to narrow down the field. So it could be that you know from the crime scene it's pretty obvious that someone's done this in the past, so you can narrow that down from looking at the people locally who've committed similar types of crimes. Also, most important, I kind of explained it a little bit beforehand, you can narrow down the pool of suspects and then identify people quicker. And that's the key here. It might not always have the hallelujah moment, look, we found the one person. Okay, but it's going to narrow your search down if there's not much kind of other evidence. So super, super useful. However, okay, are you always organised? Are you always disorganised? Guy called David Cant, he's got some amazing books. There's some in the college library when it opens, but you can find them online. It must be probably on Amazon somewhere. People, we've talked about this in personality. Are you always an introvert or an extrovert? Okay, and same idea here, that you are always organised or disorganised, and there's quite separate boundaries, and there's probably not. You only can use the evidence that you find and collect at the crime scene. This might be incomplete, which would completely skew the profile. What if you hadn't noticed that someone had stolen the person's watch at every crime scene? Okay, that is going to tell you a lot more than if you didn't have that information. So we have to be careful. Okay, and this, as I said when you were trying to do the crime scenes, this is very subjective. There is no right or wrong here. Okay, this is your interpretation, so it's a very skilled thing to be able to do. The typologies were based on a very small sample, so that hints at some unreliability. Okay, we got this information from interviewing criminals. Yeah, hi, I'm going to tell you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth when I tell you things, and I've got the perfect memory and can tell you everything about my murders 20 years ago. So there's some issues with how we got the information, and where we've got stuff right, it's very much anecdotal evidence. There's very few like studies that have proved that this works brilliantly. Okay, it does help. Like on a scale of being useless or useful, it's definitely on the more useful side, in my opinion. But there are some limitations and just like things to be wary of. Instead of just to throw the idea out the window, just think about it a little. So lastly, what do you need for your file? So we've got the 5 things on the left here. So what is the profiling? What's the idea behind it? Tell me about organised, disorganised crime scenes and offenders. Tell me why it's useful, why it's not useful, and make a judgment. But also you need your case to help you here. So there's some research here that you can use, but make sure you're linking the case to why it's useful, why it's not useful, please. That's the important thing. Okay, there's stacks of resources out here online. Obviously there's some on Google already, but there's just loads. Okay, so fill your boots, have fun. See you next time.